What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. Today I'll be doing the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series preview. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. In 2025, there are going to be a lot of changes for the upcoming season. Among driver changes, and teams shutting down, new tracks being added to the 2025 schedule, TV broadcasts and new broadcast partners for 2025, schedule changes also for the 2025 season. There will be some big sponsorship moves for 2025. There will be an in-race tournament, and we'll talk about the lawsuit as well, and talk about a potential new playoff format that also could be coming in 2025. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's first begin with all the significant driver changes that will be taking place for 2025. First, Chase Briscoe will be joining Joe Gibbs Racing in 2025 to drive the number 19 car. He last year, of course, drove for Stewart-Haas Racing, of course, winning the Southern 500, and had some really solid success and made it to the round of 12. He'll join Joe Gibbs Racing for the 2025 season and be looking to have a strong championship threat and serious contender in 2025 with Joe Gibbs Racing. He will replace Mark Truex Jr., who will be retiring from full-time racing altogether. Now, Mark Truex Jr. is expected to run some select NASCAR Xfinity Series race in 2025 and also potentially run the Daytona 500 with a team like 2311 or maybe Legacy Motor Club. But Mark Truex Jr. will be replaced by Chase Briscoe this upcoming year. Shane Van Gisbergen will move up to the NASCAR Cup Series full-time in 2025, driving a number 88 car in a third full-time Trackhouse C, as they have acquired a charter from Stewart-Haas Racing. Shane Van Gisbergen will be going in as someone to watch out for, one of the favorites to win the Rookie of the Year for 2025, and Shane will be looking to win a lot of races in the 2025 season. His biggest threat for the Rookie of the Year in 2025 is going to be Riley Herbst, who will be driving a third 2311 Racing C for the 2025 season, being teammates with Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Herbst looks to be really strong in 2025 after having a solid year in NASCAR Xfinity competition with 2 wins and 2 victories. Herbst also brings big sponsorship and funding over to the program for 2025 with 2311 Racing. It was also announced that Ryan Preece will be joining RFK Racing in 2025 in a third car. He will be teammates with Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski throughout the 2025 year. Ryan Preece is going to be someone that could have a really strong year with the RFK Racing team and organization in 2025. We look for him to be very fast and very quick and have good speed in the 2025 season. Another driver making a pretty big move and significant move is Michael McDowell, who will leave Farmer Motorsports after being with the team since 2018 and join Spire Motorsports for the next few years. Michael McDowell will look to bring a lot of that veteran presence that Spire Motorsports is desperately looking for this upcoming season, and Michael McDowell brings his crew chief with him, Travis Peterson, over with him as he'll work with Michael McDowell at Spire Motorsports in the 2025 year, nearing the end of his NASCAR Cup Series career. We also do expect that Zane Smith will be joining Farmer Motorsports in a third car in 2025. It is unknown and unclear what the number is going to be, but we do think the number is going to be 38, as that has been with Front Row for many, many years and for a long, significant time. Zane Smith will join this team for 2025. Another driver that is expected to join Farmer Motorsports in 2025 is Noah Gragson. His number will be potentially number 4. We've heard some other numbers that he could use, like the number 14, but the numbers he's expected to use is most likely number 4. He'll have Drew Bligazerfer as a crew chief for the 2025 season. Noah Gragson, after having some solid stats with Stewart-Haas Racing this past year, he'll be looking to be really strong and show some strong pace and really great speed. Look for Noah Gragson to be a guy that could be an underdog to make the playoffs in 2025 with Front Row. Speaking of the change of that car, Todd Gillen will be moving to another number from Front Row as a move to the flagship number 34 car for 2025. Todd Gillen will be the veteran of this group, as this will be his third full-time, or actually his fourth full-time season in NASCAR Cup Series competition. He'll have Chris Lawson as a crew chief for 2025. Todd Gillen will be looking to make a pretty big splash and have his best Cup season up to this point with Front Row in 2025. Josh Berry was also announced he'll be leaving and joining the Wood Brothers in 2025 in the number 21 car. Miles Stanley is going to be the crew chief as Jerry Bones will be going over to work with Brad Keselowski in 2025. Josh Berry is going to a team that really struggled in 2024, and I think he's got a chance to really improve this program for the 2025 season. I look for Berry to have potentially his best season up to this point in Cup competition. As a sophomore, sometimes he had the sophomore slump. I don't think that's going to happen for Josh Berry in 2025. He will be replacing Harrison Burton, who of course will go back down to NASCAR Xfinity competition in 2025 to drive the number 15 for AM Racing, replacing Hailie Deegan. Harrison Burton, I think, will have a lot more success in Xfinity competition than he did in Cup Series competition. I look for Harrison Burton to have a pretty solid and strong year, maybe with the AM Racing Group in 25. Let's move over to the Chevy camp and talk about Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon will be joining College Racing full-time in 2025 in the number 10 car, as the 31 car will be changed to number 10 and will replace Daniel Hemrick in that number 10. I don't really have a lot of confidence in Ty Dillon going into 2025, but it's really interesting to see he's moving back up the Cup for another run, another opportunity in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Like I said, he replaces Daniel Hemrick for 2025, who will get demoted to the Craftsman Truck Series this upcoming year and will work with McAnally Hilgeman Racing. He will be a championship threat over there in 2025. I look for that number 11, that number 19 truck to be really strong and show some really good pace and speed. I think it's going to be a fantastic year for Daniel Hemrick in 2025. Ty Dillon's teammate for 2025 is going to be AJ Allmendinger. After not being in Cup in 2024, he's back in the Cup Series once again in 2025 on a full-time basis in the number 16 car. A lot of people are really high on AJ for the upcoming year. AJ, we know, is going to be really strong probably on the super speedways and the road courses as well, but I'm not quite sure outside of those how he is going to be, because college equipment has not been that fast in the last years or so. So we'll see what AJ Allmendinger can do, but I'm not sure he's going to be a massive threat in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. And finally, let's talk about Haas Factory Team and Cole Custer. Cole Custer will, of course, be moving up to the Cup Series once again after being out of the Cup Series the last 2 years, being in Xfinity competition with Stewart-Haas Racing. He moves back up to the Cup Series in the number 41 car for the Haas Factory Team. Aaron Kramer has been an engineer over at RFK Racing, will be the crew chief for Cole Custer in 2025. Cole Custer looks to have a really, really strong season. Not quite sure if that is going to happen, but he moves back up to NASCAR Cup after being gone for the last couple years in the last few years. So those are the big driver changes for 2025. Let's move on to the team changes. There's only a couple pretty big significant ones. First, obviously, Stewart-Haas Racing is no longer existing, and they have unfortunately shut down their program for 2025. After a lot of success in NASCAR Cup competition, winning a couple championships with Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart, and winning races up until the end of time with Chase Briscoe with Stewart-Haas, they no longer exist in NASCAR Cup Series competition, which is a shame, but they've sold off their money, and they basically sold their charters off to a lot of these different organizations. They will be no longer be existing after 15 years of success in NASCAR Cup Series competition with all success they had. One other team that's making a big change is JTG Doherty Racing, as they'll be rebranding the Hayek Motorsports for 2025. Remember, a lot of the people from the JTG side, Tad and Jody Geschecter, are no longer working at this team, and the JTG being there really made no sense at this point. That's why they're rebranding the Hayek Motorsports for the 2025 season. It's unknown how this team is really going to perform in 2025, but it's pretty significant to see that they're no longer going to be around as JTG and instead be Hayek Motorsports for 2025. So those are the team changes. Now let's talk about the new tracks that are being added for 2025 on the NASCAR Cup side. The most significant change on the track side is that they will be going to Mexico City and will be the first NASCAR Cup Series race outside of the United States on a points-paying side of things since, I believe, 1959 when they raced at Toronto. It has been nearly 60 years, actually over 6 years, since the last time NASCAR has raced outside of the U.S., at least in the Cup Series. Of course, they've done that Xfinity competition. They've raced this track from 2005 to 2008. It's a very significant deal for the sport. It's a really, really big deal, and I think the fact they're doing this is really, really amazing. I think it's huge to expand your horizons, go outside of the country. Been wanting to see expansion and global expansion for a long time. Pretty exciting that Mexico City will be on the schedule for 2025. The other one is going back to the past, and that is Bowman Gray. For the first time, I believe, since like 1971 or 1972, NASCAR will be racing at Bowman Gray Stadium, a track that NASCAR acquired about a year or so ago, the ownership rights of it, and the Busch Clash will take place there. There is some excitement from the drivers who are going to be there. There's definitely some skepticism, but I'm hoping this race can be really, really good. And it's really good for the people in the sport because it's not going to be as much travel like going to the Los Angeles Coliseum like we've done. I think it's a decent decision to go to Bowman Gray. They've already done a lot of things. They're pretty much got the track ready to go for next month. We'll see how the racing can be at Bowman Gray for the Busch Light Clash. There's also, of course, some new TV broadcast partners that will be joining in 2025. Both those broadcast partners are going to be Amazon Prime and TNT. Amazon, this will be the first time that NASCAR Cup Series races have been on a streaming site, I believe, in NASCAR Cup Series history. But Amazon is bringing a lot of money to the table, and we do think, especially with the growing brand of Amazon, it is going to be really huge for the sport going into the 2025 year. And also Dale Jr., Adam Alexander, and Steve Letarte will not only be on the broadcast for Amazon, but they'll also be on the broadcast for TNT as well. The pit reporters and the hosts prior to the race have not been confirmed and announced at this time, but I have to think those are going to be announced in the coming weeks, especially as we get much closer to the start of 2025. But it's huge that new broadcasters are coming in as Amazon and TNT join the sport for 2025. Going back to the schedule, there are some pretty significant schedule changes for the 2025 season. Most notably, some of the races in the playoffs. Worldwide Technology Raceway in New Hampshire have been moved into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. New Hampshire, I believe, will be in the round of 16 as the second race of the round of 16, while Worldwide Technology Raceway will be the opening race of the round of 12. Worldwide Technology, of course, moving there because of IndyCar moving to June 15th, while New Hampshire moves in there for whatever reason. But these days have gone into the playoffs for 2025. Meanwhile, Watkins Glen and Homestead Miami Speedway, as expected, have been moved out of the playoffs. Watkins Glen back to the traditional August date, only moved there this year into the playoffs because of the Olympics taking place, and Homestead being moved to early in the season in spring, most significantly because of the fact of the money and all that stuff, and also trying to get the track ready to go, potentially host the season finale in 2026. That's pretty big there. But then one of the other crazy changes is the Talladega Fall Race will move into the round of 8. Not the biggest fan of this move, especially with the current playoff system that we have at this moment at this time. I don't know exactly what changes are coming on the playoff format, but with Talladega being the round of 8, I know they've had it very close to the end of the season in the past, but with it being with the third to last race of the year, it's not the best move to move it into the middle of the round of 8, especially that it could potentially lead to someone winning the championship and locking their way into the round championship 4 based off winning a super speedway race, and it could benefit those drivers. So now let's move on to the sponsorship side of things. There are 5 pretty big significant sponsor moves at this time that are happening for 2025. First, FedEx leaving NASCAR altogether as a whole. FedEx has been part of NASCAR since 2020, since like 2004, 2005, and have had a long-term relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing. However, after having a lot of success with Denny Hamlin over the many years they have been with Joe Gibbs Racing, they are no longer around, which is a really great shame because FedEx had a long-term partnership being part of the sport for a long time and many, many years, but sadly, they no longer exist in the sport for 2025. Now, long-term, they could come back, but they're struggling for a lot of funding and a lot of money, and they've been cutting back significantly on their sports programs altogether. So FedEx is sadly gone. Kings Hawaiian, let's move on to them. They are not going to be back with RFK Racing for the 2025 season. It is unknown where they're going to be headed in 2025. I could see Hendrick trying to pick them up 2311, maybe tries to pick them up for 2025. Maybe this is where they end up going over to Joe Gibbs Racing. But Kings Hawaiian will not be back with the RFK Racing team for 2025, especially with the next sponsor we're going to talk about here in just a short little bit. It makes a lot of sense why they're no longer going to be around with RFK Racing for 2025. WeatherTech also announced that they're going to be upping their sponsorship with Trackhouse Racing for the 2025 season. They'll sponsor Connor Zilch for quite a few races and Shane Van Gisbergen for also many races in 2025. I also believe in the Busch Light Clash as well. WeatherTech's had a close association with Shane Van Gisbergen for many, many years. Cooper McNeil, who works very close with WeatherTech, is helping out a lot with the funding as well. I think his family owns WeatherTech, I'm pretty sure. So that's why they're working with Shane Van Gisbergen for a lot of the year in 2025. Going back to Kroger, this is one of the more significant changes, as Kroger will be going in and going over to RFK Racing after being with JTG Doherty Racing, now Hayek Motorsports, for many, many years. Kroger will be sponsoring pretty much every single race for Ryan Preece, not Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, and Brad Keselowski for 2025. They will have a third full-time seat for the 2025 season because of that, and maybe down the road because of Kroger coming in, we could see them find a way to get a Xfinity Series program going up down the road. Finally, let's talk about Geico. Geico, this is kind of a story that went under the radar, but Geico is no longer in the sport in 2025 as an entitlement sponsor. This story that kind of got forgotten throughout the year because no one really knew what was going on with Geico at the time. But Geico will not be back for the 2025 season, which is a great shame, but they will not make a comeback in 2025. I don't know what the future of Geico is at the point, but they will not be a premier sponsor for NASCAR in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Now let's talk about the in-race tournament. There is going to be an in-race tournament that is going to take place throughout the season. This is going to kick off in the final few races, I believe, of the Amazon stretch of the season, and during the TNT side of things, that is when it is going to take place. There will be 5 races, and basically I'm not exactly sure if they're going to give money out or all that kind of stuff at this time, but they'll have 32 drivers. I think everyone will compete for this. There will be a qualifiers. I think 32 people will be able to qualify their way into this, and every single week they'll go down from 32 to 16, 16 to 8, 8 to 4, 4 to 2, and then of course the 2 deciding who will win the in-race tournament, which I think is the way NASCAR should do things for fun stuff like that. It's a really cool, fun thing. It's going to be something fun to track on this channel especially, but an in-race tournament will be taking place in 2025. Next, let's talk about the playoffs. NASCAR said that they're looking to make some potential playoff changes for the 2025 season. After Joe Logano not really having a strong year, having the least amount of top 5s and top 10s for a champion in NASCAR Cup Series history, they're looking to make major changes on the playoff format for 2025, though they're probably not going to make those big significant changes most likely until 2026, which isn't the most shocking or surprising thing at this point. I really hope they get rid of winning your in, but they're looking to use AI as well, which is extremely questionable at best, but they'll be probably making some playoff changes down the road. I'm not exactly sure. They're probably not going to be too significant at this point, but there are potential playoff format changes that are going to be taking place in 2025. But the biggest story to watch out for throughout 2025 is, of course, going to be the lawsuit between NASCAR and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are currently suing NASCAR on antitrust claims, and over the last couple weeks, it seems like the direction of the lawsuit is going more toward the teams than it was going to NASCAR. However, this lawsuit plays out because the court case date is supposed to be set for December 1st. We do know discovery is due on September 19th, and we do know that NASCAR is planning their motion to dismiss side of their things on January the 8th. There's a lot more information that's going to come out throughout the year. This is probably going to be the biggest overarching story outside of probably the Kyle Busch free agency talk, as Kyle Busch will be a free agent in 2025. This lawsuit is going to be a major story to watch out for, as Michael Jordan and everyone involved in the lawsuit will be big and watching it for throughout this year, because whatever comes from the lawsuit could have major impacts on the long-term future of the sport going forward. Overall, 2025 is setting up to show up to be a really strong season for NASCAR competition. Driver changes, schedule changes, among other things. This season is going to be really fun. We'll be talking a lot about silly season throughout the year, and we'll probably have a lot of really cool videos throughout 2025 as the year progresses and goes on. So, that is going to be it for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series preview. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. List goes below that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's episode. How excited are you for the 2025 season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This may be the final NASCAR video of 2024. Tomorrow on the channel is going to be the thank you video for 2024, and then Wednesday is going to be the goals video for 2025. I also got a lot of great content dropping over the course of the next couple days. We'll be having the Formula One lineup video. We'll talk about that here in the coming days. There will be the Chili Bowl entry list video coming out probably potentially this weekend. We also will have some other really good content dropping really soon as well. We'll have content on Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Ertz, Kurt Busch, Connor Zillich, Junior Motorsports, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Bubba Walls, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Chandler Smith, Eric Almirola, you name it. We'll talk about here on the channel as the offseason progresses and goes on. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.